This is the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, and I've had it for just about a year now. Before the upcoming S26 Ultra gets revealed, I thought this was the perfect time to revisit this phone. Even after dailying the Galaxy Z Fold 7 and the iPhone 17 Pro, I gotta say that coming back to this phone has surprisingly been a pretty satisfying experience, even though it's really not that interesting. So in this video, I wanted to talk about what actually held up really well, what feels just middling and meh, and why I also think this phone's still a really good buy for a lot of people right now, even though it doesn't really have any standout features. Let's start with the really good stuff, starting with, of course, the display, because that's one of the best parts about owning a Samsung flagship phone. You're getting a 6.9-inch LTPO AMOLED here with variable refresh rate up to 120Hz and up to 2600 nits of peak brightness. On paper, there are a lot of other phones these days that match the display specs of the Ultra, but I have noticed that the quality control and tuning of these Samsung displays have always been way more reliable than others. So you just have a more peace of mind here if you really care about the display. And thanks to the display being such a good AMOLED and the anti-reflective coating, colors are punchy without being overdone and blacks are really deep. Samsung has always been good at displays, and even after a year of all these other phone releases, this is still the best one for me as a single screen slab phone. Plus, the low-key part I noticed the most here is the anti-reflective coating. This is one of those features that doesn't sound that exciting, but once you get used to it, it's really hard to go back. Reflections are way more controlled, and this actually makes things look better, especially darker content, and it's also easier to look when you're directly in the sun. The battery is also another area that stayed super solid. I mean, even from day one, battery life has always been great here, but what impressed me after a year is how consistent that stayed. I know there's a lot of talk online about Apple and Samsung really making their last phones worse to promote their new phones, and especially including the battery, but I think that theory is at least debunked with this phone. I still get about 6 to 7 hours of screen on time even during busy days. On lighter days after work, I come home and easily end up with around 50%. Even on those heavy days outside with lots of camera use, navigation, social media apps, and messaging, the battery life here doesn't fluctuate and I never really felt stressed about it. Now, do I wish it had a bigger silicon carbon battery? Do I wish it had faster charging than just 45 watts? Yes to all those questions, but with the battery life being so dependable and the charging just taking about an hour to get a full charge, I just can't complain too much here. What's also really good and even a bit better now is One UI and the general software experience. I've been running the One UI 8.5 beta here for the last few weeks, and honestly, it's already been really stable, so that's been great. One UI since 7.0 has been pretty polished, but 8.5 makes things even more convenient. You now have a ton of UI elements available at the bottom of the screen for better one-handed use. The quick panel is finally actually customizable now. The native clock app's world clock timeline view is super useful for me since I work with people in different time zones. And then there's all the AI features that are actually really well implemented. To be honest, I still don't use most of the Galaxy AI features, but the ones I do use, I rely on all the time, including Circle to Search and the AI photo editing tools. What I like about Samsung's AI in general is that the useful stuff is just there when I need it. They're quick and easy to access while also not being forcibly shoved in everywhere. There's also a ton of legacy features that I still rely on a ton, including modes and routines for a ton of automations that make my life so much easier, multitasking features with gestures or the edge panel. Of course, this isn't as convenient to use without a bigger folding display like on the Fold, but this is still usable for those situations I do need it for since the screen is just big enough. And to top it all off, this comes with total 7 years of software and security updates, so that's going to be really important for most people planning to keep their phones for a long time. Now, just like the software, the performance has also been super reliable. As you can expect, the Snapdragon 8 Elite chipset is still everything you need since it's still a flagship chipset. Everything, of course, feels fast and smooth, apps open instantly, and this thing handles multitasking easily, and even heavier stuff like video editing, exporting high bitrate 4K videos, and gaming doesn't phase this thing at all. More importantly, it's good at staying cool too. It's got a much bigger vapor chamber than the previous Ultra, so this thing sustains peak performance for longer periods. So yeah, whether it's gaming, shooting a lot of videos in 4K, or doing short form video edits, I thankfully don't have to think about the thermals here much when I'm using this phone. So those are all the really great stuff about the Galaxy S25 Ultra, but honestly, there's not all perfect. There's a lot of very average and just meh things about a phone in this class. Now, for one, it's gotta be the cameras. To be fair, the camera results on the S25 Ultra are still pretty good. You've got a 200 megapixel main sensor, an ultra wide, a 3x telephoto, and a 5x periscope telephoto. The main camera still takes sharp photos with nice dynamic range, and Samsung's post-processing is still very consistent. A bit more sharpening than I'd like, but it's still up there as one of the better image post-processing. Digital zoom between around 1.5x to 2x is still some of the cleanest phone shots that you can get. The 5x lens is also solid, solid and gives you genuinely nice looking zoom photos. I recently took this phone to a dark indoor concert and it actually did a decent job with the low light images and a really good job with the 4K video recordings. These actually turned out more stable and clear than what my wife's iPhone 17 Pro was able to capture. But the overall camera experience is just more the same as the previous years of Ultras, and the issues are also still the same. The 3x telephoto is still super weak, it's got the smallest sensor, and the images are just a huge drop off from the main or the 5x periscope lenses. And even for the better main and the periscope lens, when you compare these to what other Chinese OEMs are doing with much larger sensors and better telephoto lenses, Samsung's camera hardware just feels too conservative. I would love to use the Expert RAW camera more often, but it's just a little too slow and feels too segregated from the main camera app, which kind of makes me not want to use it that often. Then with the new iPhone 17 series introducing these square-shaped image sensors, the selfie camera on the Ultra now feels pretty limited and not as dynamic. In general, the photos and videos look good and I can always rely on them no matter where or when I'm using them. It's just that the photos don't have much personality or much depth to them, and there's not a ton of flexibility with the shooting experience. So while all these other OEMs are starting to differentiate their camera experience with hardware upgrades and software features, Samsung is pretty much just playing it safe, putting out really reliable smartphone photos that just look like smartphone photos. So to sum it all up, I think the camera experience on the Galaxy S25 Ultra is just about dependability and reliability and not really about making a statement. I've got similar thoughts about the dual stereo speakers. In a vacuum, the S25 Ultra speakers are good. They're loud, they're clear, and I like listening to music and podcasts from these. But after using the iPhone 17 Pro speakers, the difference is sadly very noticeable. The iPhone speakers have much more depth, better separation, and just feels more immersive. The S25 Ultra speakers aren't bad, but they have a lot of catching up to do, which shouldn't be the case as it's the Ultra Samsung phone. And as much as I like the idea of the S Pen, and this is one of the only pieces of tech these days that come with a stylus integrated into the hardware, I just don't use it at all, and I'm pretty sure most Ultra users don't touch it either. Besides signing some stuff from time to time, and maybe for those rare occasions where I need pinpoint accuracy when photo editing, I just don't find many uses for it. I know it's going to piss a lot of people off, but I honestly wish they got rid of the S Pen and just use that space for a bigger battery, but that's just me. And on that note, the overall design is also something that's become very boring to me. The S25 Ultra still looks premium, feels super solid, and the build quality is great, but it's also just too familiar. It is very sleek looking, but I wish there was something more to it. And honestly, after using some other phones, I realized that it's kind of uncomfortable for me to hold now. The wide boxy form factor makes it just a tad bit too wide for me personally. Since we have some letterboxing anyway when watching videos on this phone, I honestly wish they could just make it a bit narrower so that it's easier to grip and reach the edges. Now thinking about all these points as a whole, I think there's just not a ton of things that really hook me about the S25 Ultra. Compared to my Fold 7, the Ultra feels like half the experience since it's just a single screen slab where I can't multitask as well or be as productive. When compared to my iPhone 17 Pro, the S25 Ultra feels just a step behind, with the iPhone having a more flexible camera experience and the speakers being much better. So while the S25 Ultra is a good all-around phone, it's just not the phone I personally reach for. With all that said though, I actually do recommend this phone to most people looking for an Android or Samsung phone right now. It's got a great display, solid battery life, dependable software experience, and a reliable camera system. And it's been a year, so you can find some really good deals for this phone now. You can pretty much find this phone new at least $300 off and up to $500 off sometimes. So at around $800 to $900, it's a great deal for an all-around phone like this. Plus, with all the rumors about the S26 Ultra not really having many upgrades over this one and pretty much looking the same, you really won't have any regrets going with this one instead right now. Alright, so those are all my thoughts about the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra. Let me know in the comments how you feel about the S25 Ultra right now in 2026 and right before the S26 Ultra. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and I'll see you guys on the next one.